Well, hello, good evening, everyone. Sorry about that little glitch. I don't know why it didn't start live there, but there we go. We are now live, and I am joined this evening by, well, a man that really doesn't need any introduction. He has won the UKBBL. And how many times now is it?
It's five, which is why my team currently have the V symbol.
5. Oh, I see. So is that what it is? It's the V for 5. It will. I suppose you can't change it now. So does that mean you've capped your victories?
I did appreciate that, but maybe UKBL could let me re-roll and find a special symbol for 6 or 7.
I don't think so. Right. Well, in honour of having the winniest Dark Elf coach in the UKBBL history this evening, one of the matches that we are going to be bringing you this evening is the Shadows of Tartarus versus the Rescue Rangers, which is a Skaven Dark Elf matchup. Before we go into that, however, we are going to have a look at the sides. Which division is that in? That's in one of the divisions near the bottom, isn't it? It's Group K, so just going to go into Group K, just have a look at these rosters before we go into that game. So it's J Japes Dark Elves against, I can't remember now off the top of my head. Let's have a look. J Japes against Timberwolf. Timberwolf, very fine painter. He beat me at the recent tabletop with dwarves. His Rescue Rangers. So we're going to have a quick look at J Japes. So a rookie TV 1000 Dark Elf team, pretty standard build as far as you're concerned, isn't it, Andy? Can you remind us of that?
The optimal build is 4 blitzers, 1 runner, and 2 rerolls.
And then the rest linemen up to 11, yeah?
Yeah.
J Japes' team here, he's lost his first game and his TV's dropped down to 930, which usually means the linemen had a bit of a mess. Let's see if we can get into them. Shadows of Tartarus, here they are, team roster. So he has got 2 runners, 2 blitzers, 3 rerolls, and then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 linemen available. So he did lose a lineman, but he went for the double runner approach. And he managed to pick up 1 casualty in his first game and an MVP for Beelzebub. So that's the Shadows of Tartarus. Of course, JJ was in the Premiership, wasn't he, for quite some time?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so? He was against you.
Well, if he's not bothering challenging for the top, I'm...
Oh, I see. You like that, are you? I see. Okay, so Rescue Rangers Skaven team. What would be the normal Skaven build from TV 1000? Because this one's taken a bit of damage already. Timberwolf's down to 860.
You would take... Well, with Skaven, it's actually a little odd, because you can do many different things with Skaven. You normally want to open with 4 gutter runners, two blitzers, and you then choose whether you want to take a Rat Ogre or whether you want to go with rerolls, because you can normally get to a Rat Ogre in 11 players with no ape off, or you can stack up on a few extra rerolls and some spare linemen. I think the second is better.
So Timberwolf's team, he has 2 gutters, 2 storm vermin, a roger, a thrower, 3 rerolls, lineman to 11, but he does have 2 Skaven missing this game, which counterbalances J Japes' missing lineman that got killed. So actually J Japes in the driving seat here. So who do you fancy for this game?
It might depend a little bit on whether or not the Rat Ogre does any work, because if they're both playing with 11 players, it can go one or two ways. The Rat Ogre can then suddenly, with its mighty blow, tear through a couple of elves, and all of a sudden the elves are in serious problems. But equally, all the Skaven are only armor 7 and a couple of lucky hits, and they're suddenly in trouble. I think on balance, I think this slightly favours the Dark Elves, but I think it is actually a fairly even matchup. I think it's probably only 55-45 in favour of the Dark Elves.
Well, I've gone back a couple of turns to turn 4. We've got a casualty already. One of the linemen is out the game. We have a knocked out, and there's the touchdown being scored by the gutter runners on turn 4. So Timberwolves Rescue Rangers have gone 1-0 up, and the Dark Elves are down 2 players. Let's see if he wakes up, and then we can catch up live. So we've got a dead and injured lineman, and the knocked out player did wake up. And on the Skaven side, no injuries so far. So that was Facebook pinging away. So that's good. Let's see if we can catch up live now. So it's now turn 5, and it's 1-0 to the Skaven. And are you live with this now?
Yes.
Right. So there we go. We've just had he had to re-roll there. So the Dark Elves have used a re-roll just to get away from that disastrous opening block.
See, I don't think this is going very well for the Dark Elves. I think they are under too much pressure, or going to be under too much pressure.
It's quite a deep kick, isn't it? And there's been a thrown rock at this runner that's down on the pitch at the end here as well. So fortunately, he did have the second runner, so that's paid dividends there for a moment, isn't it? Timberwolf is, I believe, from your neck of the woods as well, isn't he? He plays in. Does he play in one of the leagues, tabletop leagues, with you? He's certainly from. He is certainly from Nottingham Way.
It's quite embarrassing. I don't know.
I'm sure you'd recognise him if you saw him. He went to the NAF and had the best painted team at the NAF. That's Timberwolf.
That's an impressive feat.
Indeed. So, Andy, how's your season gone? Tell us all about your opening to this Blood Bowl 2 season and how much you're enjoying the game.
Well, I decided to play Chaos again.
No.
In the first game.
Hang on. There is a specific question that Conflict Diamond did send in to me today about your... Is it because your ego was bashed so much that you only managed to win the title once with Chaos that you felt you had to bring them back for another pop and get more dominant with them? What do you say to that?
I think that's quite an amusing question. Sorry, I only won it the once, so therefore it was deemed a failure.
No, it's not. It's not what people view it. It's how you're viewing it, and I think you do view that as a failure after your total domination of the UKBBL with Dark Elves for so long. With what many consider Dark Elves are not as dominant in a perpetual league as Chaos, so your inability to dominate with Chaos in the way that you dominated with Dark Elves reflects badly, in your eyes, on your own coaching ability.
That's an interesting point. I'm not quite sure I agree with that, but I can see the thought behind it.
So, I mean, for instance, if you won the league with Chaos this season, what would you do with that Chaos team? Would you carry on playing them, or would you actually decide it's time to gain some respect back?
Play what?
I don't know. Something that floats your boat.
I have to admit, I actually wanted to play Dark Elves, but I do think that the Dark Elf Blitzer models and Lineman models look very similar. And I decided to not do that. The other race I actually really wanted to play was High Elves, but again, the models look so similar. I decided against it.
I've played. In fact, I kind of preempted you saying that this evening, actually. And actually, when you look at that, I've switched I'm actually looking at the board now on the stream from the Dark Elf coach's perspective, and I can tell you just at a glance which of these players are blitzers and which are linemen, straight away.
I think you can, once you get used to it and play it a lot. I think the difference is in Blood Bowl 1, after the first game, it was very clear what was what. In Blood Bowl 2, it's taken a lot more time to get to that same point. Fair enough.
The way I look at Dark Elves, and I haven't played Dark Elves to be fair, this is literally just kind of, I've been studying the miniatures because I am very aware, Andy and I talk quite a bit away from the stream and away from UKBBL, and this is one of his bugbears about the Dark Elves, and so I was kind of expecting you to bring this up tonight. But if you look at the Dark Elves on the screen now, if there are blitzers, they don't have their midriff bare, so there's a patch of pale skin across each of the linemen, whereas the blitzers are in far more armour. And then the runners, all you need to look for in the runners are their little ears. They have little ears, yay, on their helmets. So they're actually quite easy to spot. And the runners' shoulder pads are very different from the linemen as well. So once you kind of get your head round that, they're not so bad. But back to the game.
Not so bad, viewers. That's what we just heard then. Not so bad.
Not as bad as Andy makes out, I should say. I don't care about Dark Elves anyway, as far as I'm concerned. So there's no other races that float your boat. You were talking about Wood Elves for a while.
Yeah, Woodies would have been very interesting, and Norse were the other one that I really toyed with. The reason I decided to not go with Norse was because several games in a season, your line of scrimmage and at other points during the game, it's just your team's going to explode, and I was a little bit concerned that would happen.
Robbo's with you, by the way, Andy. He says they are way too similar. I'm not here to discuss that at any great length. I said it's not as difficult as people make out to tell the difference between them. This guy here's a blitzer, this guy here's a lineman, runner, lineman, guy over here's a blitzer. Okay, but they are similar. We can flick them on. There you go. This one's a loner, as it turns out. So I think you're mad if you are serious. I mean, I tell you what, if you decided to re-roll Norse and actually then went on to win it with Norse, that's it. I'd shut up forever. I'd never criticise your racial choice ever again. They're a tough team. I just don't get Norse at all. I don't see, and obviously I know Jimbo Dino is absolutely raves about how good Norse are, but let's be honest, he hasn't even gone Norse in the Blood Bowl 2 League. He's left Norse way behind and gone undead because he knows Norse are crap, really, aren't they? Let's be honest. Sorry, RTSD, if you're watching. Oh, there he is. RTSD's yelling up a Norse at us. Oh, and Landian, of course, yes. All the Norse people are in tonight, and I've just slated them. Yeah, good, nice, wonderful. Okay, so go on, Andy.
I was just saying, if you just going back to the game for a second, the strategic element, which is maybe one of the reasons it might be here. I'm just querying and questioning a little bit what the Skaven player is doing here. So, from a strategic point of view, you want the ball carrier to go near the Rat Ogre. The Rat Ogre went wild this turn, so whatever the Skaven player had in mind didn't work. And if you just pan back a little bit more, you can see that the Skaven player is marking dead space on, as we look at it, his right flank, which is further inviting the Dark Elves to go down his left flank, which is exactly where you don't want him to go. So I'm surprised that he's fortifying the side of the pitch that you want the Dark Elves to go down. Strange choice.
No, I totally agree. I've been playing a little bit of Skaven in the Rock Paper Shotgun League, and in fact I've got another game in that tomorrow. And Skaven, you often want to kind of have your whole team kind of together, defending in numbers, because it's not difficult to relocate your Skaven because they're so quick. And Dark Elves don't particularly want to base against Skaven at this TV because Skaven can hit hard as well. Certainly as hard as Dark Elves can. But there you go. No Witch Elves. I've seen a few Witch Elves popping around actually in the early TVs, and there's a knocked out Skaven, which have been frustrating. And I've been scuppered both weeks so far by the odd dice roll in the game. I had a 1 in 36 double skull in match day 1. In fact this week when I was on defence, which then led to my opponent scoring before the half. and then I had a 5+ throw into a 3+ catch to win the game in the second half, despite rolling that double skull. And of course, fumbled the ball, and the Dark Elves moved the ball end to end, and yeah, that was it. Very sad. But Andy, how's your season started so far? 2 wins out of 2?
Nearly. 1 win, 1 draw. I played a mirror match versus More Chaos in game 1, and I was quite lucky. The dice were quite kind, and I went on to win 2-1. And then in match day 2, I played against some Norse, and I thought the Norse player played really, really well, but Baby Chaos versus Norse really does sort of favour the Norse player. So I was quite pleased with the 1-1 there.
Okay. So quite happy with progress. How difficult do you think it's going to be to get into the playoffs this season then, with the format?
Do you want to remind everyone what the format is?
Okay, so the playoffs are basically made up of the 4 teams, just the 4 teams that have the best record in the UK Blood Bowl League. Yes, I was talking about our game, No Amto. Al Bundy, by the way. It was a very, very, very... I did catch an inaccurate pass after failing. I didn't fail the sure hands pickup. It was... it wasn't a failed sure hands pickup. But anyway, we'll come back to that. So, out of the whole 12 divisions, the 4 teams with the best record. So, the first tiebreaker is points. Then it's touchdown delta, which favours the faster teams. Then it's the Waldorf-Coleman method. Was it the Coleman-Waldorf method? I can't remember. And then it's after that is count back strength of schedule to separate the top 4 teams in the event of those ties. If that's all tied, then there'll be a playoff, an extra playoff game. So yeah, so that's pretty tough. So it's only the 4 best teams out of 144 to get into the playoffs. So any more draws, Andy, it could be tough.
I don't. The target this season is not. Well, it'd be nice. It'd be very nice if I could make it. But I think 9-game-old Chaos versus anything is not going to be favouring 9-game-old Chaos.
Why, are you planning to sit 2 games out, are you? Because it'll be 11 by the playoffs.
Oh, it'll be 11. Okay. Well, even so, you're looking at sort of 25 games before Chaos really get going.
Yeah.
So, if I made it, brilliant, but that would exceed expectation.
Waldorf is throwing it up in your face that Baby Chaos versus Norse. Waldorf had to play the world's number 1 ranked coach this season, who was fielding Norse, and Waldorf was playing Halflings.
He did lose that game, though. That's very impressive, but he did lose.
Were you at the same tournament?
No, sadly I couldn't go. I was actually supposed to be attending.
That was the Lancashire Pawn Bowl, wasn't it, I think?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, but I did go to Euro Bowl.
I heard.
Did quite well there recently.
Quite well. Which team were you taking? What build? You finished second, I've heard. And you finished second on countback, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, if you'd have used either casualties caused or more commonly, as most tournaments use, touchdown delta or star player points, I would have won overall out of the 130 people that were there.
Yeah.
But I finished second.
And what did you take?
Dark Elves.
Okay. What build did you take then? And what was the TV? Talk
it was 1100 TV, and I took 2 witches with wrestle and 3 blitzers with dodge and a runner with leader. No. So five blodge pieces. No tackle.
Okay, because you had the wrestle. Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
And what was the TV? 1200, did you say?
1100.
1100, pretty standard. Okay. Okay. Oh, and we've got a failed handoff. Wowza. Brave. Oh, and he's failed. It's a double 1. That's the 1 in 36 that he didn't want.
That's harsh. Question there, just a slight, and I'm being ultra picky here. The slight misplay. Really, you should be throwing the blitz first if you've got a block piece, because then, unless you're rolling double skulls, you get a hit. Because you've got to do it anyway, so you may as well do something that generates a star player point,
Well, true,
as opposed to something that doesn't.
He did roll the double one though, so you know he might say that actually he was going to end up with a double one or a double skull. So
Well, yes, but he would have re-rolled the double skull into potentially something else.
true. That's very true. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so talking about your Chaos team development, are you going to build them the same as you built them in Chaos Edition? Or are you going to do anything interesting this time? Because you kept promising us, and I had you on GCBC a few times, promising us some interesting builds. And as far as I can remember, you had one player that was interesting.
That's because in the entire lifetime of the team, I think I rolled like 1 or 2 strength increases ever, and they both died before they got to block.
Okay, so strength increases aren't interesting, are they? They're
agility increases. I rolled 1 agility increase, and that was in the final season. Or it would be an agility increase on a killer piece, which is not going to help him do their role.
Stop being evasive with talking about
No.
upgrades.
You're talking about interesting players.
You're telling me that for you to have an interesting Chaos team, you have to roll stat increases, or because otherwise you're just going to pick the boring skills. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I picked boring skills. I had 2 diving tackle pieces, and one of them was very interesting.
Well, yeah, he did have a prehensile tail, and that's the one interesting piece that I was talking about. I'm just trying to look him up. Remind me of it. Was it Willie Stroker? Is that the one?
It was Willie Stroker, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's remind ourselves of Willie. Horns, tackle, prehensile tail, standing firm, diving tackle, block. Okay, I can live with that. That's something a bit interesting. The prehensile tail on a beastman. I like that. Okay. And you did have billboard, wrestle, tackle, diving tackle. I like that as well, somewhat. But where are your very long legs?
Well, I wanted to build, and I was talked out of it, actually. I was going to build a very long legs, leap. Unfortunately, he did a double for this. Very long legs, leap, wrestle, tackle, strip ball guy. Who, again, would have been interesting. That's a pseudo war dancer, effectively. Leaping on a 3. But, unfortunately, the only time I rolled a double in the sequence required was in about season 25. And with the upcoming release of Blood Bowl 2, there was no point doing it.
Okay. No, I can understand that. So what you're saying, and I don't want to kind of put you on the spot here, but what you're generally saying here is actually you are going to give us something more interesting this time.
I'm going to certainly try.
You're going to try and roll stat increases. Okay, that's fine. Just so the public know where they stand with you. That's absolutely fine. In answer to young Nathan's question, what's it going to take to qualify for the playoffs this season? He says 11-0-0. Well, possibly. At the moment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's only 17 coaches with perfect records left after 2 weeks. We're not even all the way through week 2. I'm telling you. Sorry, go on.
The answer to that question, actually, is look through the last season. If you open up all the divisions, there's broadly the same number of divisions in UKBBL in the last season as there will be in this. So you just go and take the top team out of each division and see what the best 4 records were. My feelings are you're going to need to win at least 9 games. It'll be 9 or 10 something will be the top 4 teams.
Yeah, so if this was the format from last season, and imagining that all the teams had the same records, the teams that would have qualified for the playoffs last season would have been the End Creepers, which was an undead team from Lauren Forest West, Mats 373, with 28 points. Then following that, you had the Reading Renegades on 26. Then you had Blacklist in Alt North East, which was Wobbett's team. They were on 25 points. Giffin Griffins, that's EFC Steph's human team. They were on 25 points with 8 wins, a draw and a loss, and a touchdown delta of 13. So those would have been your 4 qualifiers. So that was 25 points. 8 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses would have got you into the playoffs last season, in direct answer to that question.
The only thing here is because everyone's TV 1000, there might be it'll either be a racial skew, in which case I suspect we're going to see a lot of elves, and I think we'll see Necro. 1, maybe 2 Necro coaches get in. We won't see anything like Chaos. Probably not see any Orcs. Probably not see any Dwarves.
Well, I think if you take me back to the start of the season, I'd say this season lends itself to Skaven, Wood Elves, maybe Undead straight out the box.
Yep.
And what I'd love to see is a really, really aggressive Skaven player. I genuinely think this is the time for Skaven to win it. Which actually surprised me that Ugnash didn't take them and he went Orcs instead. Was that really...
Oh, let's see whether or not he's any good.
Well, this is true. He hasn't got his 1 turner, has he? He's better than me, though. I mean, well, to be fair, because of the way that I'm building Orcs and I'm still passing it with great aplomb, I already knew that I was going to have a tough season. But I've managed to buy my broken Blitzer back, which is nice.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and I've picked up some star player points as well. So there's plenty of development happening in the Orcs. It's just been slowed up. I did take all my rerolls to start with. I don't like paying double for rerolls. Just buy them all at the start if you can.
It's generally the stronger play. And teams at low TV, people forget this. They tend to use a lot more rerolls because they've got no built skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, I mean, Ceremal's Wood Elf build. Have you seen it? Have you seen Ceremal's Wood Elf build, Andy?
No, go on, upset me. What is it?
Okay, well, I think you can probably guess that he's got no rerolls. Straight away. I've got to find his team now. What was he called? Oh, it's the Maryland Marvel, I think. It's not like...
While you're looking for that, I'm just going to pull you back to the game for a second. And I don't know if the Skaven coach maybe hasn't learned from his mistake in the first half, but he's doing the same thing again. He stood up the Rat Ogre, which was fine. You blitz with the Rat Ogre. Yep, get that. Would have been nice to make it 3 dice by using the 2 line pieces, or Storm Vermin alignment behind it. But he's then blitzed the elf to the right when the elves are clearly going to go down their left flank again. And the Rat Ogre now is going to be horribly out of position.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I guess the only thing that he's looking at, perhaps, is wanting to hold one flank with the Rat Ogres and force a big ruck down one side. I don't know, but in a ruck, you've got fancy Dark Elves, haven't you?
Yeah, the higher armour. But look at this. Look at the pieces on the position of the board here. The Dark Elf coach clearly wants to go down the Skaven left.
Yeah.
Is going to go down the Skaven left, and you've got 6 Skaven on the right hand side of the pitch.
I suspect we're going to see a nice early score for the Dark Elves here, and Jape going for the win, which is probably the absolute correct play. So Ceremal's Wood Elf build. The first 3 players he bought. You're gonna, you know, he's gone mad. A capable coach. I mean, let's not forget he did take Kemri to one of the tabletop tournaments and win with them. I think that was the tournament that you took Kemri to and didn't do very well with them. So we know he's a capable coach. His first 3 players he bought for the team: War Dancer, Treeman. Then he bought a thrower and 3 catchers.
Okay, now there is an argument, and Wood Elves are the only team I think you can get away with this for playing with no rerolls. And the reason for that is because you've just put in inbuilt reroll skills into quite a lot of what you want to do. The downside is all of your leaps are just 3+ naked, no reroll.
Yeah.
And you haven't got sure hands for picking the ball up. But if you can get the ball up, you should be able to pass it to a catcher who's got dodge, so he's nice and mobile, and he's also very quick. And you've got 5 dodge on your starting team, so you're not going to use rerolls on simple dodges.
No, that fully makes sense. So it's probably a disaster for him then in match day 2 to have a war dancer killed, a smashed collarbone on a lineman, and another dead lineman.
The lineman won't make any difference other than it makes them difficult to skill up, but the catchers are very painful.
Oh no, it's a war dancer, not a catcher.
Oh, sorry, the war dancer, sorry. I was just reading something in chat.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
There was a skill interaction question posed by one of the viewers.
Yeah, you dodge first, and then you choose whether you're going to use dive tackle or not. This question came up, actually. I was listening to the 3-die block earlier as well, about when you choose to use wrestle, whether you choose to use wrestle before you decide which dice you're going to choose. It's like on your defense turn. So if your opponent is hitting you 2-dice block, basically they choose which dice result they want. You then declare if you're using wrestle or not, unless of course you want to re-roll. So the re-roll happens before you choose to use the skills.
Yes, in all instances, you roll the dice, you declare what you're going to do, you roll the dice, and then you declare what skills are going to interact with that dice roll.
Yeah, and that includes re-rolls. So the re-roll has to happen before those interactions of skills. So
yes. Well, Skaven coach seems to have straightened himself out a little bit.
Yeah, he's done all right, hasn't he? And the beauty of this now is that Rat Ogre could, I suppose you've got to keep that lineman that's standing next to the Rat Ogre there, haven't you, really? Otherwise that Rat Ogre could start rampaging. Oh, we've got another broken armour. That's another KO. And I think that was a Storm Vermin there. Chip, of course, of the Rescue Rangers. Chip and Dale. I think the other Storm Vermin is called Dale. Here he is. So it is Chip and Dale, the Rescue Rangers. They are the Storm Vermin on this side. And all the characters are named after. I thought more characters were named after characters out of Chip and Dale. Clearly not.
Just to bring you back to the comment you said about the Rat Ogre and the Dark Elf lineman. Generally speaking, the best thing to do with a Rat Ogre is not to base it, but is actually to try and build a screen in front of it, and then induce your opponent to blitz somewhere else. So it becomes very difficult to move the Rat Ogre, and you can't get it back to the play. But imagine that where the Dark Elf lineman is at the back now, you take the piece that's marking it and just stand behind the Rat Ogre to 2 squares, so the Rat Ogre can't walk between the 2 linemen, nor can it base both of them at the same time. That then presents a bit of a problem for the Skaven coach, because he either has to blitz in a completely meaningless way to try and get the Rat Ogre back into action, or the Rat Ogre just stands there.
In that case, you'd have to leave the Rat Ogre standing there. But the benefit of that then is that you've taken a load of elves out of the game, surely.
Well, if you can do it really well, you should be able to do it with 1 line elf. But it'll depend on the angle of where the ball is versus where your lineman is, and then the Rat Ogre.
So, a question that I think has been discussed before, but I'm going to throw it out there now as we're talking about big guys. What for you is the best big guy in the game? In fact, give me the top 3. Top 3 big guys.
In terms of effectiveness, or in terms of fluff, or in terms of how they sit in the team, because certain big guys are possibly better than others, but don't actually suit the team so much.
Okay, well, let's look at what they add to the team first.
For example, Croxigor, very good big guy.
Yeah.
Is it the best? No, because it's got Bonehead, and I don't like Bonehead or really stupid, so therefore by proxy a troll on an orc team also is not as strong. But I think a Croxigor on a lizard team brings more to a team than a troll on an orc team.
Okay, so you're throwing out that. What about an ogre on a human team? What's more valuable, ogre on a human team or a Croxagore on a lizard team?
Little bit that depends on how the human team, where the human team is in team development. At TV 1000, an ogre can be very useful as a roadblock just to tie up two pieces. Maybe at higher team value.
Whoa! We've got a rat ogre dodge there. And he's failed to go for it. That's a ballsy move by Timberwolf, and he's going for the loner roll. And it worked, and he's got the go for it. And now we've got a dump off option for this runner. That's an incredibly brave move there from Timberwolf. And the dump off's happened. It's got it away. And now that rat ogre is going to be eating some runner. What a move, Andy. Nobody called that. Clear. Oh, and there goes the rat ogre down on the second go for it. Oh, what a lot of ones. What a brave move. I like someone who rolls dice. You don't, do you, Andy?
I think the Skaven coach got what he deserved there.
How dare he roll dice? That's an incredibly ballsy move. And now that rat ogre's going to get a shoe in the face, and well deserved too. What a move. Sorry, we'll come back to the big guys chat in a minute. This is all of a sudden, after a ballsy move by the Skaven player, become quite interesting. This could be disastrous, of course, because if he fails the injury here, he can then blitz with that rat ogre. This is a really, really important foul coming up. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a double 1 or a 3.
Oh,
What's he rolled for the injury? He's rolled a 6. He's got the stun and he's knocked him off the pitch. Okay, that's worked out really, really well for the Dark Elves.
Can we just point out a slight misplay here? If you imagine that player then got sent off, irrespective of what happens with the armor roll, that player is now sent off, and it's the Skaven turn.
Yeah.
You've got 2 dice on the ball immediately with no issue.
Straight up here. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Brave play doing that foul from there. It would probably have been better to block that corner off, and as Andy said, fouled from one of these 3 positions here. Otherwise, if this player had got sent off, it doesn't matter what the result of the injury was. These guys were straight down here for a 2 dice block on this blitzer, and of course it is a blitzer now, so it's not got the dump off option anymore. But overall, that's worked out pretty well for the Dark Elves. It's just a question of whether the Dark Elf coach is playing for the draw here or not. No, the Rat Ogre didn't have break tackle, Al. It's just standard vanilla Rat Ogre. So, okay, so going back to big guys. So we've looked a little bit at the Lizard. So we didn't really get an answer. So we were looking at what big guys bring to the team. So back to my original question, 3 best big guys. I think we'll look at which of the big guys brings most to their team to start with. So give me your number 3 choice. You there, Andy?
Yeah, I'm just pondering through. Yeah, you have to cycle through quite a few big guys. In terms of being important to the team, I think a Warpstone troll, or a troll on a Goblin team, or Underworld team is probably in there for importance on the team.
Yeah. No, I'd totally go with that. Played a little bit of Underworld in my time, and all Underworld teams take the Warpstone troll as their first pick on their roster. So yeah, okay. Okay, Warpstone troll. Next, second place.
I'm trying to justify not putting the Croxagore in from a Lizard team, because the number 1 place in my mind is very cemented. Very cemented. I already know what that is going to be.
So, all right.
What about a Wood Elf tree? Now, not all Wood Elves take a tree, but they do take them, and it's certainly at lower team value they're very useful. So I'm just thinking of other things that replace the Crocs.
Bloodthirster. The Corn Bloodthirster. Mr. Flappy. I think that team is built around the big guy. And of course...
you say that, but Possibly the most successful Corn coach ever was the guy that used to win OCC with Corn. I'm embarrassed I can't remember his name, but he didn't build that team with a bloodthirster.
Okay, interesting to know. Okay, I guess the number one choice that you're looking at is, of course, the Beast of Nurgle.
Yes.
I think I would agree with that. Especially a strength increase one. Horrific.
Or one with block, as they all seem to sort of come out of the box with these days.
Block, stand firm, strength 6 was horrific. But
Gusire, that was his name.
Gusire, okay.
The reason that the Beast of Nurgle is number one, bar no other big guy, is because you have to look at what replaces that player if you don't take a Beast of Nurgle. And in a Nurgle team, it's a Rotter. So in all instances, you take a Beast of Nurgle. Whereas something like on a Chaos team, you can get away with taking a Beastman. On a human team, you can play without an Ogre. They're not critical. But I think you've got to play with a Beast of Nurgle.
No, that's a fair comment. Yeah, no, there is an argument. I mean, if you don't take the Troll on an Orc team, then you can take it. Oh, and there's the Equaliser from the Dark Elves. Do you know what figure that is, Andy? Me either.
I was quite pleased that he scored.
And the Rat Ogre hasn't woken up, so it's advantage Dark Elves for this final drive.
I need to just nip away, I'm afraid, for a moment or two. My phone rang and it's
That's
one
fine.
of my parents. They don't ever ring unless it's important.
No problem at all. If you don't have a Crocs, you get a skink. No, that's a fair point. If you look at Andy's rationale there, Al Bundy, absolutely. If you don't have a Crocs, then the only option you've got is to take a skink. If you don't take an Ogre on a human team, what have you got? You've got 4 blitzers, 4 catchers. Who takes 4 catchers realistically, even with the armor value 8 that you've got now? One of the reasons that we did look at this game tonight is, of course, it's a Skaven team. And Skaven are one of the new teams that are coming out with the new edition of Blood Bowl. They are being released at the same time as the box set, so you can buy them on the same day. But we'll come back to that in a moment when Andy's back with us. Well, the Dark Elves get an extra reroll, and it's a fairly decent kick. Oh, it's a touchback, so it's no good at all. Unfortunately, it bounced the wrong way back over the line. Horrific scatter as well. Scattered 6. So the Skaven have given the ball to their thrower. They've got 6 linemen and a Storm Vermin and a thrower. The Gutter Runners obviously was missing. Oh, and there's a failed dodge straight away. What's he done? That must have been a misclick. That's a misclick, and he's re-rolling the misclick into 2 tackle zones, and that is disastrous for the Skaven. In fact, it's even worse than that. He must have, I don't know what he's done there. What has he done? That's a disastrous misclick. Yeah, we will be moving on to some other matches, because obviously this one is nearly concluded, and we're only in the infancy of tonight's stream, so don't worry about that, and we will. No, they do have some Gutter Runners, Al. It's just they're here. He's missing 2 from missed next game, or he's missing 1 from a missed next game. I think the build only allowed two Gutter Runners, and 1 was missing the game, and the other one's knocked out. So yes, he is unfortunately relying on line rats, which is always bad news. It's one of those things. I don't take an Orc team. Going back to yeah, not on purpose, Charlie. Yeah, I always take a Troll on my Orc team, but that's because I like to have the the thrown goblin option at the end of the day. It's kind of key to the way that I play with my orcs. We can bash a little bit, but I don't deliberately build the orcs to bash. We bash out of necessity rather than out of a want to cause destruction. We are, at the end of the day, Fine Orc are coached by Votgrub, and the literal translation of Votgrub is white food, because the tribal leader of Fine Orc adopted a pink pointy-eared baby that his wife found in the woods, and they were kind enough to take him in. And so Fine Orc, that's the history. They play passing options because that's what Fine Orc do. Yeah, and I do like the troll. And in match day 11 of season 26, my troll ate his second agility 4 goblin in his career, which was absolutely corking. And the Dark Elves are now breaking through. So if the Skaven are going to get away with this, they're going to have to do something pretty crazy now. And why not? We're going to have to rely on some good old-fashioned naked 3+ dodge rolls and hope for the best. In fact, what's going through my head right now is the only way to get out of this is to go for a passing option. Because they never fail. Passing options never fail, except, they never fail. It's never the wrong move to throw the ball. Even in the rain, before you even ask. It's always worth throwing the ball. So we've got
that is not true for viewers. That is not true.
Andy's back. Okay, so we've kind of trimmed it down. So as was quite pointed out, if you don't take the Croxagore, you're replacing him with a skink. So by your logic, the Croxagore has to go in that list, doesn't he?
Yes, I think I agree with that.
Okay,
but skinks are useful.
Yes, this is true. Certainly more useful than a rotter. Absolutely. And we've got another injury. And we have an injury. Lethos is injured. And it's a smashed hand, so that lineman's missing in the next game. The Skaven are in a little bit of a pickle here. And this is going to have to rely on a 3+ dodge from this thrower, unless he throws the ball, which might be the better option.
Well, would you do a 3+ dodge with the team reroll? Oh, in fact, you haven't got a reroll, have you? So it's a 3+ dodge or a 4+ pass
with a 3+ catch,
but with a straight 3+ catch. The downside here is obviously if he fails the dodge, he drops the ball at the feet of the Dark Elf, who will run in and score. If you fail the pass, potentially you might be able to
get downfield.
Fail the cat. Yeah, you might be able to get downfield, and the ball isn't completely vulnerable.
Yeah, the frustrating thing with Blood Bowl 2 is that pass is not optional. It is a mandatory skill at the moment. We hope that gets changed sometime soon, so you can just throw the ball downfield, even if it's inaccurate.
What about the symbols, Gav? That's something we really want to change, isn't it?
We don't really care about the symbols. I play my games exactly as we're viewing it right now. So if I want to look at a player, see what he's got, I just click on him and we can see it here. And there's your hover box to tell you what it is. Just like that.
Without the text, of course, which is quite useful. But anyway, we
digress.
The text we digress.
Andy, the text is right there. I'm looking at it now. Look at the stream. It's right there. Block. The block skill prevents the player from being knocked down after a block on a both down result.
Oh, you mean the symbol where you have to mouse it over? Oh, he's going for the pass.
Oh, he's failed the catch.
He has, but he has managed to get the ball downfield.
He'll be reasonably pleased with that, but that does give the Dark Elves 2 turns to get the ball in the end zone. If he is going to need it. He's got to clear this Storm Vermin out, really, hasn't he? Does have a blitzer nice and deep, and he does have plenty of rerolls.
This is where you need to do everything in the correct order, and the correct order is very important here. The correct order is that the lineman who is in your in the Skaven half, which is number 1, which as you're looking at the stream right now is bottom right, needs to go and stand next to the blitzer who's furthest forward, provide a block so you can hit the lineman.
He's not number 1, Andy. That's his level.
Oh, okay. Number 1, the level, obviously.
Level 1 player. Just so you know, his number is actually in the corner on his card here. That's the number that you're talking about. Has he done it in the right order so far?
No.
In fact, who's going to pick the ball up now? He's going to have to make a 2+ dodge. I suppose he hasn't used a reroll, so it's not. There we go. There's his 2+ roll, and he's picked the ball up on a 2+. Hand it off to him, perhaps.
Yeah, he's going to do the handoff.
Hand off to number 10. A lineman. I'd have been looking for a blitzer at that stage, I suppose. I suppose there wasn't a blitzer close enough. Okay.
And the Skaven player here is deciding that just having the ball downfield is reward enough. He is unfortunate enough to make 2 naked dodges with the 2 linemen that haven't moved in the middle of the field to provide a decent screen. And potentially the blitzer as well, number 1. The other thing I don't think the Dark Elf coach possibly has thought through here is in league play.
Number 3.
Well,
the number's on the right, okay? It's not.
Okay, this should all be number 1. I'd like to rename my team the number 1s. Okay, you've broken my train of thought now.
Well, you're calling out the wrong numbers for the viewers. You know, I have to correct you. Right.
The thing to do here is you need to be scoring with the right elf and levelling up the players.
Right.
Just putting 3 star player points on a random player really isn't good enough at this stage.
So what the Skaven should do before he did that dodge is move a Skaven into scoring range, first of all.
Yep.
He has got a Skaven who can't get anywhere near the ball, but he needs to move this Skaven here, downfield, or even indeed the thrower. But it wouldn't hurt to move the thrower back towards the ball in case it all does go very well for him. Let's hope he does move someone downfield. And certainly, if you stand up this Storm Vermin, I think he's in scoring range. Yeah, he is. Just stand up the Storm Vermin. Storm Vermin Dale, number 3. If he stands up, he's in scoring range. And he's actually got the blitz so far. And he's got him down as well. Look at that. Now he's hoping. Do you hope for the scatter off the pitch here?
Well, I think possibly the Dark Elf coach is himself to blame here. This screen really should have been provided and set up, and wasn't.
Oh, you're so critical.
Well, this game is, in one way, a very interesting game because it's showing. It's not showing optimal play. It's showing, and this is the mistakes that people are making. And sometimes people will go away from a game and blame the dice, when actually there were things that they could have done to mitigate risk.
So instead of making the blocks, I mean, these players in the middle here, number 3, the blitzer, this lineman, although he is a loner, so I don't know, could have actually dodged out on a 2+ and got in and screened this player. I see what you're saying there.
Yep. And the blitzer that threw the 1 dice block that resulted in a skull, the one that you just moused over a second ago, number 3, could have dodged around and provided a 3-point screen.
I see. So this game is obviously coming up to its conclusion here, but we are going to move on to another game in a moment. We'll see what's on offer from Cabal Vision. We'll pick that up in a moment. He's clearly marking. He hasn't got anybody else in scoring range. And actually, what he's done now is he's moved this line rat back, and he was one of the ones he could have moved into scoring position, which is interesting. Yeah, Al Bundy, I know you've not met Andy before, but he's a firm believer in levelling the right elf. or leveling the right piece, and he considers it's a failure if if you win and the right pieces haven't skilled up. So it's just the way he is, and he is a 5-time champion. So and what is it? Double Welsh Open winner, second in
Yes.
Euro Bowl, and 4 times UKBBL tabletop winner.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so what he's actually done here, he's overdone the Skaven, and he can move number 8 round to this square here, and he can actually just push that blitzer out now quite straightforwardly. The trickier bit is freeing up the ball. That is the hardest part, freeing up the ball, because that dodge from that loner Skaven has made it pretty tricky to get into that. That's a 4+, 4+, just to get the ball if you blitz this guy out. Although he's a 4+, 2+ to dodge out, and I suppose you could then blitz here. That might be the better play. Dodge this guy here, here, and into the end zone, and then blitz over here to clear out. Move this Dark Elf here, blitz this guy into this guy, get all the tackle zones off that ball, and then it becomes a 2+, 2+ to actually... Yeah, he's not going for that. He's actually going to push the player onto the ball. So if this ball scatters to this Dark Elf, that's the game. And there you go, that's the game done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that wasn't the optimal play. And that's it. That's is he actually still going for the touchdown? He can't now, can he? Now the Skaven do have a play for the win now, interestingly. So now the Dark Elves have got to do something about this chap. They need to push him back 1 square. So let's hope they don't miss that. This number 3 Storm Vermin over here is in scoring range. And they've got to be careful they don't set things up so they can blitz a piece into that Storm Vermin to get him into scoring range. Got to be careful. He's got to blitz. He's got to hit this Storm Vermin. He only needs to push him here, and then he's outside of scoring range. It's mandatory. And he's used his reroll, of course. It's one of the problems in in tabletop tournament. In tabletop, he could have elected to use his team reroll to try and fail the catch, and he's got the Skaven down. So this game's done as a draw. Okay, so let's move away from this game. See what else is on Cabal Vision. 1-1 between JJape and Timberwolf. Let's see what else is on offer. Okay, the Pylon Pulverizers versus Tea Leafs Choir. That's Grouse's team. They're losing. I think that's in Division E. Let's have a look. Yep, here they are. So that's Orcs versus Necro. And then the Alternative Circus versus Hud's High Elves. We're going to go to that game. 1-0 at the moment to the Alternative Circus. Let's see what turn that one's on. So optimal High Elf build at TV1000, Andy. Oh, this is a Dark Elf High Elf match, so we know we're rooting for the High Elves here. Currently 1-0 to Farron's Dark Elves after turn 4.
You're going to have to remind me whether or not you can get this through, because I haven't built High Elves for a while, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 rerolls, 2 blitzers, and 1 other position. I think you can either have a thrower or a catcher. If that is the case, and I'm 90% sure that is the case, then the optimal position is the catcher, so you can farm star player points into him.
Doesn't that make your team rely very much on one player?
No. You don't score with a catcher, you score with the blitzers.
Okay. Again, making sure the right elf scores. Okay, so
Yep.
1 million. Let's throw that in there now. So how many rerolls you saying?
3.
So 3 rerolls. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. They're 50,000 rerolls. Nice cheap rerolls. Cheapest in the game. And then 2 blitzers. Blitzers are slightly overpriced, actually. Elf blitzers are, for what you're getting. 1 catcher, yeah?
Yep.
And then lineman. 211. And that's your 1 million. Yeah, absolutely right, Andy. And again, you get your rerolls in nice and early.
The there is someone's just put in the chat actually. There is a way of there is an argument for starting with a thrower, and that is because you've only got 2 pieces of block and everything is 6, 3, 3, 8 basically. You want more rerolls, and so I would go leader on the thrower as the first skill to effectively get that 4th reroll. But I think medium games sort of 2, 3, 4, assuming you won the first game 2-0, it slows you down.
Absolutely, but the high elf team is centered around the thrower. You want to start skilling him up as soon as possible. That's not the build I go for, actually. When I build high elves, I do go for the 3 rerolls, but I take 1 of each positional. I switch out 1 of the blitzers for a thrower, and then hope I've got enough for an apothecary. But that works for the way that I play high elves, because I need the thrower, because I throw the ball far too much. And the safe throw, actually, for your money, the high elf thrower is probably the best in the game, bar none. Probably the best thrower, the high elf thrower, in the whole game.
I agree.
Even with the movement 6. It's the one thing that high elves do better than any other elf team, which is throw the ball.
It's very true.
And don't underestimate the use of safe throw for not fumbling it. So
yes, people forget that.
you don't suffer the fumbles, which makes throwing the ball downfield a lot less risky with the safe throw.
Mm-hmm. The issue taking the other issue with taking the thrower first is that a lot of people then will skill it up with accurate. So you can pass the ball over 6 squares on a 2+. That's great. Or you can pass over 9 squares on a 3+.
Yeah.
But all you're doing is improving an element of the game which you should already be masterful at, which is scoring. You win games on defense a lot of the time, and that's where high elves will struggle.
Yeah, and getting the catches into your team is key as quickly as you can. One of the big things that the high elf and the pro elf teams to some degree is the strength 3 catchers. Movement 8 is fantastic. So obviously the pro elf catchers and the high elf catchers, they're both very similar. I mean, the pro elf catchers are the best catchers in the game because they have the nerves of steel, which makes them an even bigger threat. But as Andy's just pointed out, actually you're gonna score well with high elves and pro elves and wood elves for that matter. But you win the game on defense, so it's developing those catchers, and you don't need to develop high elf catchers to score at all. You don't need things like sure feet. You don't need. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. You want to take block. You want to take dodge. You might want to build one as a wrestler, similar to a witch elf build. You might want to build one that's if he gets an agility upgrade. You might want to build a pass blocker because they're an absolute nightmare to try and defend against. Because passes do pop up every now and again. Strip ball on the blitzers is nice. You obviously want to take tackle on the catchers. It's all about sacking the ball carrier as quickly as possible using your strength. What you don't want to do with high elves is allow your opponents to cage up, because then you're in all sorts of trouble. Don't rely on the AV8 either. It doesn't last long enough. And they are, the problem that all elf teams have, as I'm sure Andy will attest to, is replacing those players once they die. They are very expensive. Another strength, I suppose, of the Pro-Elf team is the cheaper linemen. The 60k linemen are nice, but you are sacrificing a point of AV against High Elves and Dark Elves, and a point of movement against Wood Elves. So, is it worth it?
We were talking about the first game, the strategic element. If you look at the way that the two teams are playing each other now versus how the last two teams are playing each other, the positioning, both teams look a lot more solid. The High Elves currently, Gav, you just scroll your camera out, you will see that they are very solid. The Dark Elves would have to get the ball, would have to run round the back, and in doing so would expose one flank or other, and so they can't afford to do so. And the High Elves, because they've got most of their players centred in the middle, have still got the option of flank going down either flank. So it's a little bit of a standoff, but positionally it's very strong for both teams.
Hud is another seasoned Premiership coach. He did finish. I think he finished bottom in season 26 in the Premiership after an absolutely horrific season. I'm not going to lie. My life, I finished season 26 bottom of Premiership East with 2 wins and 9 losses, and his team had been battered. But Hud promised us then that he would never take High Elves ever again, and imagine my surprise when he entered a High Elf team. And it's like anything, people have their favoured races, and for whatever you say about Andy, he's stuck with the chaos, as we discussed earlier, and whether we like it or not, I can see his point of view about Dark Elves. Difficult to tell the difference between them. By the way, Andy, this one moving at the moment is a Witch Elf, just to be clear on that.
What?
Just making sure you know which one's the Witch Elf on the Dark Elf team, if you were struggling to spot which ones they were.
Yeah, I was just about to say that luckily it's the start of the Dark Elf turn, but again, if you think through what do you want your opponent to do, and if you're the Dark Elf team, you want your opponent to go down a flank, so you need to make the centre as strong as possible and force them down one of the flanks. You can either choose to just make the centre ridiculously strong so they have to go down a flank, or you can make one of the flanks a little bit weaker. At the moment, the Dark Elf right flank is quite weak because it's only got one piece. You can blitz past it and you can run down there. So you need to make it weak so you've got the advantage of the sidelines, but you can't make it too weak, otherwise, yes, they go down the sideline, but then you can't surf anything off or box them in.
Does Farron he's used his reroll there, and he has actually got the High Elf thrower down. But what's he going to do now? I mean, he may have freed up the ball, but what is the next play?
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
nothing.
What he's done now is actually open up a flank, which is what the High Elves were waiting for.
Yep.
And what will happen now is one of these High Elves from over this side will hit this guy out the way because he's got an assist already. He'll get nailed. The thrower can now quite happily pick up the ball once this player's out the way, hand it off 1, 2, 3 to the catcher here. The catcher's away, and he can be nicely screened by this blitzer and these 2 linemen down here, and it'll be very difficult for the Dark Elves to stop the High Elves then. So, as Andy was just saying, great, he's knocked the ball down, but by moving this player before doing that, if you're going to commit to the blitz there, then surely you do the blitz and you say, hell, I'm going for it this turn. Then this guy can run round a couple of extras, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So no, there was never a play on there at all, actually, thinking about it, because this guy was too deep anyway. So there was never a play on there. It's interesting to watch Farron do that. Although Hud now actually hasn't used the thrower, but I suppose anyone can pick the ball up and hand it off to that catcher. The only thing
interesting. You would go with the Dark Elf left flank. I would go with the Dark Elf right flank.
Yeah, that's what I would do as well.
But the catcher's on the wrong side if you're going to do that.
No, he's got 2 catchers.
There's
a catcher next to the player that's just blitzed, the thrower. There's a...
I can't find the game on the client, so I'm going to watch through the stream.
You can't find the game on the client? How so?
Nope. I've tried searching by league name, I've searched by coach name, and I've searched by
all you needed to do was
team name.
Just go into really? You just go into league name UKBBL. That's all you needed to do.
Maybe I need to restart the game.
Interesting. I've not had that problem before. You didn't have any races selected, did you?
No, it's live all races versus all races, and then the 3 things are blank. And I'll see whether it finds anything.
Oh, really? Okay. You need to click search for it to find anything.
Yes, I've realised that. Thank you.
Just checking. Right.
Switch it on and switch it off again. Yes, quite. With the high elves here, would you be, as a high elf coach, looking, as you've now got throwers and catchers on this team, would you be looking to try, and if you can keep the ball relatively safe, farm star player points, a cheeky throw every turn, and then hand it back to the thrower?
I'd be looking to score as quickly as possible. Like you've already pointed out, games are won on defence. You're not going to win with a high elf team by stalling it out, unless you are ahead on players, which you're not in this situation. And what you can't afford to do is afford to lose another player, because if he doesn't score as quickly as possible now, and he loses another player to KO, or the KO doesn't wake up, then he'll be facing... and Dark Elves are much better at grinding out results because of the number of block that they have.
I agree.
Let's have a look. Let's bring up the blitzers here. So the Dark Elves are playing, because they've got the Witch Elf in there, they've actually only got 3 blockers to the High Elves 2 blockers, so it's not quite as bad as you'd think, but for optimal builds, that's certainly the way that I'd be looking at it. Okay, so that catcher has picked up the ball now.
Just as another point of what if, the High Elves have made an interesting choice there. They moved their screen out of the way, and then they went to pick the ball up. Now, what would have happened if you'd rolled a double 1 here? Then the game was lost, potentially, unless your opponent rolls a double 1, because they just walk up, knock your ball, the thing you went to pick the ball up with, out of the way, and run off and score. Again, these fine margins can win and lose you games if you do things out of sequence.
Yeah, roll the dice before you can move the 3 players is what Andy's saying there. It sounds so simple to do, but in the heat of a game, the adrenaline starts pumping. You think, oh, this is my moment. All I've got to do is roll a 2+. Oh, it's gone wrong. Oh, crap, I should have moved those players to protect. Oh, he scored again. We've been there. So the frustrating thing now for me is this is actually really hard for the High Elves. I personally, this is just my opinions, and obviously the views given by me or my guests on GCBC are our views on the matches that we're watching in front of us. But I feel, especially with High Elves on offense, against Dark Elves, you can't allow the Dark Elves to reposition. You need to be aggressive. You need to get a couple of and that was his time. Once that blitz had worked for Farron, but he opened up that flank, you needed to get pieces into position, because now the Dark Elves have got the option of furrowing you down one side, which plays right into that Witch Elf's hands. That Witch Elf just loves you being near the sidelines because of the frenzy. And at the moment, the Dark Elves just don't have enough pieces. I mean, they've got to blitz this blitzer out of the way. He's got to go. And then it's not so difficult to defend. Of course, the Dark Elves have to be careful now that they don't overcommit down one side defence, because it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that the High Elves come down the other side now. And there's a couple of key, because the Dark Elves haven't got any rerolls left. I've got a feeling here that Farron's going to try and blitz the ball carrier again with this blitzer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's not. He's going for the blitzer. We didn't get him down. It's not a disaster though.
I think the Witch Elf is placed too far to the right.
2 go for it's to score now for this blitzer, but he's got 3 turns to go. Hud here. Well, the way tricks. This is Andy Davo, and he firmly believes in the star player point farm. He will constantly pass, especially with Dark Elves, as much as he possibly can. Okay, that's an interesting move, moving that blitzer there to cover off this flank here, because now it's actually not too difficult to get this guy out of the way. I suppose you need the knockdown, but the Elves actually have plenty of rerolls in hand. Now, what do you do now? Do you come through the middle? I still think I prefer coming down the right, the high elf right flank, or not now, because he's just blocked that guy out of the way.
Yeah, the weakness in that is, as you identified immediately, that one player all on his own, number 1, 6.
Yeah.
Number 6. And if you do it the right way, you use a block piece.
He's now strengthened that very nicely. Yeah, he had to do a double dodge there to get out. But that's worked out very nicely for him. That was a 3+2+ dodge, which strengthened his line much, much nicer. So now the play, I guess, is let's flip this on its head. I want to look at this from the high elf's perspective. This guy here, you need to get around here, and you need to get both of these players into scoring range. This is a movement 8 piece, this is a movement 7 piece. One of these 2 guys has got to get hit. He's moved this blitzer here, but not too much of a problem with the rolls in hand.
How do you swap the camera around?
You hit switch view at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
it's quite a nice feature.
Oh, sorry, I was looking for a symbol or something.
No, this one actually is where the letters and the words are written.
So, looking at it from the high elf perspective, if we were looking at it from a moment ago from the dark elf perspective, and we were all sat quite pleased, and everything was going to be fantastic and wonderful, thinking, oh, that's impenetrable. And then you flip it round and you look at it from the high elf point of view, and immediately it's very obvious what you're going to do, which is exactly what the high elf player is starting to do, which is he's going to sort of attempt a switch, and that switch will gain you some ground on the other flank. And so, again, just from a tactical point of view, sometimes it is beneficial to swap the camera around during mid-turn and look at it from your opponent's point of view and try and iron out the issues that you've created in your turn.
Yeah, that feature you can't actually do when you're playing the game at the moment. You could do it in Blood Bowl 1. Yes, Andy, don't say a word. But that is a feature. That is a feature that they are going to be working on, and it is fairly high on their wish list, from what I've heard. Right, what I'd want to see now, as I said last turn, I want to see some players getting into a scoring position. You don't want to... Yeah, that's much better. Much more aggressive. This is what I was talking about last turn. HUD is now going to be screening off down this side very, very nicely. This lineman can come up to here. This lineman can mark this guy. You don't need to do anything more fancy than that. Just get him marked. In fact, these guys can move over here and mark these guys up. He's actually marked him with that. That's still okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If he wants to brave out some GFIs. He has blitzed here, so he needs to be careful that he moves this ball carrier. Like Andy said last turn, if he fails a dodge here, he's going to need to save that reroll. So get this player over here. This is the safe place for this catcher at the moment. Don't roll any go for it's at the moment. Otherwise that could be disastrous. You want to get this guy. Here he goes. There he goes. He's made the dodge very nicely. And now he can come over here.
He has, as I'm watching it live and not on the stream, actually he put number 13 lineman in the way. The catcher couldn't step one square further forward because the lineman was already in the way.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, what Andy's saying is if this lineman had been moved after the catcher, this catcher could have actually been here now. It's not a disaster.
No, tiny error as opposed to monumental disaster.
Now, this blitzer here, over on the left-hand high elf flank, he just needs to creep forward a square. Just say, you can't leave me here on my own. You're going to need to mark me. I'm a scoring threat. He shouldn't be coming back. I'd want to leave this blitzer here. He's not the target for a blitz, but he will tie up a couple of Dark Elf players.
I'd actually go slightly further than that, and I'd actually put two polices on that flank. They need to be player, two squares, player, so you can't mark both of them with one individual player, because it then turns the Dark Elves then have to commit three players to that side, and that becomes a problem for the Dark Elf team. And that probably will give you the resources required to make scoring down the actual flank a lot easier.
Yeah. But he now has, and this looks much more aggressive if you notice, he's now got this player's in scoring range, this player's in scoring range, this player, and even, I think, the thrower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even this thrower is in scoring range. Admittedly with 2 go for it, but he is in scoring range. This player that's got the ball is actually only 1 square away from being able to score as well. So that's been quite a successful and aggressive turn there from HUD, and I quite like that. Let's flick back to the Dark Elf view. Now, things aren't looking so rosy. And as Andy said, they looked fairly strong last turn.
Yep. Someone talked in chat and said, what do you think about a Dark Elf lineman rolling a double as the first skill on your team and taking Mighty Blow and not guard? Gav, what do you think about that before I answer?
If I ever rolled a double on my high elves, it was guard all day long, unless I was lucky enough to have rolled a ton of doubles before. Guard is golden on elf teams. It can make the difference between a 2 dice block and a 1 die block, and it can be the difference between you getting through a tight squeeze or not. You can't replace guard. Mighty Blow. Realistically, the teams that are really going to hurt you with high elves are the big bashy teams. Okay, the ones that have got strength 4 pieces. You need the guard. I would never take Mighty Blow on an elf. Unless I was lucky enough to have lots of guard already. If I had 3 or 4 guard pieces and I'd rolled a double on a blitzer, maybe I might take Mighty Blow. That's the only time. But for me, doubles on high elf catchers, I actually really like to give 1 Nerves of Steel. That's actually nice. Doubles on throwers are strong arms. The lineman, every single lineman that has ever lived on a high elf team, for me, gets guard. So that's my view on it. What about you?
I completely agree. The only time I'd take a Mighty Blow on a Dark Elf team would be primarily on a Witch Elf, and then you've got a choice. Do you take Mighty Blow or do you take Juggernaut? And at that point, that probably comes down to whether or not what's the rest of the team composition, because if you've got quite a bit of guard, then Juggernaut will probably win out because you can do lots of surfing. If you've got very little guard, Mighty Blow probably wins out because you're going to be sniping.
Yeah, I mean, Jugs is nice. It depends what you've got in your division. If you've got teams with lots of stand firm, yeah, great. I mean, if you're going into a league with a ton of Bretonians, then take Juggernaut all day long to overcome the fend. So yeah, I can certainly see it's a different decision for Dark Elves than it is for High Elves, because you have the 2 Witch Elves, and having 2 pieces with Frenzy, as a starting skill, that's the way you want to go. You wouldn't do the same thing on a high elf team. Actually, Andy, now you've come back, this new skill that's... Oh, we've got a dead witch elf.
Oh,
that's horrific.
Oh dear. Oh dear. No one likes to see dead witch elves. Not even
the apothecary
me.
is being used, and it's a badly hurt. And he's... Oh, I bet he clinched there. I bet Farron clinched tightly there. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Bevan. Juggernaut is superb for cancelling out heavy wrestle teams. And I love a bit of wrestle. So yeah, don't like to see Juggernaut. That's what made who was that superb shit orc that played for Anton's team? He had Juggernaut.
Ulrich the Orator.
Oh, yeah, what a twat that White was. I hated him because he made a right mess of my orc wrestlers. Yeah, hated him with a passion. He was just a shit orc though, like you say. Okay, so it's Hud's turn. He could score this turn if he wanted to, leaving the Dark Elves one turn. Relatively straightforward. He's got a reroll. Blitz this catcher off. Blitz this lineman off this catcher number 5, the most the high off catcher that's furthest forward. Blitz it off without even having to roll a dodge to get there, and then just a simple 2+ handoff with a reroll, so it'd be a 1 in 36 failure, which is about as good as the odd get at this stage of a game. Here he goes. He's doing exactly what I just said. Good lad, Hud. You're making me look competent. So he's got the push, and it's now 2+.
Now, you said it's a 2+, and it is, but do we need to score this turn? Because that's the next question that the high elf coach should be asking himself is, do I need to score this turn?
Do you know
Can
what?
I go and stand the ball
No.
so he can't get behind me or in front of me?
My view here is you score this turn because you then get the extra turn of rolling for your knocked out player. That's why you score now. You don't score on your turn 8. You score now. You get a knockout roll for your player now, and then you get another one at half time. You get the extra chance of waking up that knocked out high elf. Because you are receiving in the second half, let's not forget. The high elves are receiving in the second half as well.
Okay, fair enough. I can go with that.
So I'd score this turn, personally.
Do you know, I've always just written in chat, I'd actually pass here, because the catch already has a 2+ reroll on it. You're going to score with the right elf, which is a catcher, so you may as well take the additional 2+. And if it goes wrong, you're probably still golden. You probably are.
He did actually just do the handoff, but that's fine. No, I can see the argument there. The pass would have been nice, because obviously you only need the 1-star player point with the MVP. But there you go, and it's 1-1. That's good. There's the haughty, arrogant high elf. And you have to admit, Andy, as much as as much as there are parts of this game, it's a pretty game, isn't it? It really is a pretty game.
It's pretty annoying. I mean, yeah, it's lovely.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yes, Robbo, we did see it was a 0-star player point catcher that should have done that throw. Absolutely agree with that.
And for the people who are new in the stream, that's relevant because if you'd made a pass, you would be on 1-star player point. If you then hit the MVP, you level.
Yeah. No, agree there, young Nathan. If you do stall there, you lose that impetus you had making that hole on that right flank, actually giving the Dark Elves an extra turn to solidify there. Could well have made things far more difficult. And Alex Archer was absolutely superb. And I'm not saying you weren't, Andy, but obviously I played Alex Archer an awful lot with his Dark Elves. And I didn't ever play you when you were playing Dark Elves. The only time we've ever played was in the playoffs with your Chaos versus my Orcs, and that's not. Let's not talk about that because a failed 3+ catch scuppered me in that game as well. But I'm not bitter. But Alex Archer was very annoying playing with the 2 rows, the 2 banks. He would have a wall of Dark Elves that made it impossible, and he would never overcommit. He was so disciplined. absolutely superb. And by the way, that high off catch, that high off lineman has actually woken up. So it's 10-aside now going into this second half. Of course, now the Dark Elves do have a free round of blocking, unless something absolutely disastrous happens. The only thing I would say about this deep setup now, now I understand why Hud's done it. He doesn't want to give a free shot at one of his high elves, but this is exactly when a high elf team will roll a blitz, and now he can do nothing with it. And he's still got turn left, so you could actually get the blitz here and actually go 2-1 up before the half. But because he's set up the way he has, he can't do that. So I don't mean to look like an expert, but if he rolls blitz now, I told you so. Throwing it out there. It's pretty tough to do a one-turner with Dark Elves. Not
Very,
impossible.
very hard.
I have seen it done. Roxana helps, doesn't it, Andy?
I think that was with Amundsen's, but yes.
Yes, it was with Amazon's.
I did it in the championship of OCC, which is their highest division. Did a one-turner. I think it was against some Orcs, I think. Because he set up in exactly the same way. Movement 7, Blitzer ran down the field and scored. Won me the game, actually.
Well done.
Thanks very much. I just remember it. It's just, but the player in question did have sidestep, which makes it a lot easier.
So no blitz, just an extra reroll for everyone. And it has actually bounced off the pitch, which, as I recall with Roxana, that's exactly what happened for you, wasn't it?
It is.
But has he actually got any movement? He has got a movement 7 piece on the line here.
He could have.
It's not.
He could have done it. He's not going to be able to do it now because the Witch Elf is too far back. But it
Yes,
was
true.
potentially available.
The frenzy helps quite a bit in that situation, doesn't it?
Yep.
That's why RTSD was able to score an awful lot of one-turners with his Norse team. So we never used to feature very many elf matches, did we? Back in old Chaos Edition. That's one of the nice things about this reset, I suppose. Getting some nice elf mirror matches. My first ever UKBBL league game was a high elf versus dark elf. A high elf dark elf match. Unfortunately, that was played in the rain, which was always going to end badly for high elves. So yeah, and funnily enough, my first ever UKBBL game in Blood Bowl 2 was played in the rain with my passing orcs. So that was always going to end badly as well. So there you go.
Just as another point of order here, I don't think Farron has seen it, but he did actually have the ability to make 2 3-dice blocks here, had he so wished, and then he wouldn't have used the reroll. Because you had to blitz, the 2 high elves were stood in a line, you blitz the back one after putting 3 assists in behind it. It would have been better. But, oh well.
Picked up the SPP there on the Witch Elf, which is nice. She got an extra SPP. I am wondering if there was a better person to actually go for that completion, though.
One of the blitzers, the one that's on no star player points.
Yeah, absolutely. So Andy, because obviously there is a player that nobody ever takes in the Dark Elf team, which is the Assassin. Now, the reason I bring up the Assassin at this juncture is the newly announced skill that is appearing in the new Blood Bowl box set. Why did Farron put that piece there? Just to allow a free blitz on it. It's just bizarre. Of course, the skill I'm talking about is Weeping Blades, which, for those of you that haven't heard, and I don't know where you've been if you haven't heard it, I'll ask that question in a moment, Bevan. The Weeping Blades skill basically allows gutter runners, and it's only gutter runners that have it at the moment, because and the reason they've given that skill to them is because the model has a blade on the model. Games Workshop design quirk. And so if a gut runner ever manages to get a casualty, and the injury, this is not stunned, KO'd, etc. Once you've got a dead and injured piece, if it's a badly hurt result, you can re-roll that for free to make it worse than badly hurt. It's like having another pop at killing a player. It's a proper dick move skill, I think. But if assassins had that skill, Andy, would you be more tempted to take them?
Well, the wording has been clarified slightly on the NAF. It is if you cause a badly hurt, you get to re-roll it, and on a 4+, that player is miss next game as well as badly hurt. So it's effectively it turns into a miss next game. It doesn't help kill them. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So is it a better skill? Well, yes, if it is a badly hurt and it doesn't affect the other person's team. And I suspect that the idea behind that is that it really does mean it's you're less likely to apothecary them, because remember, on a badly hurt in a tournament setting, especially, a badly hurt means you could put them straight back into the reserves box. Whereas miss next game, it's now only on a 50-50. You're going to apothecary them.
Yeah.
So I think that skill was designed for low TV play or tournament play, and not for long-term league format play.
Okay, interesting. Okay, fair enough. So we've reached the half. It's 1-1. The High Elves have 10 players available. The Dark Elves have 10 players available. And the High Elves are now receiving. And the High Elves have gone quite aggressively. You didn't answer my question. No, you didn't answer my question about whether you'd ever take an assassin, but I didn't press any further because I kind of assumed that would be your answer, Andy. So I'm not going to press that further. But Bevan does have a question, which you have answered in stream, but I'm going to ask it now for people that are watching the replay without the text stream. The question asked by Bevan, Mr. Davo, is: can coaches who win leagues with overpowered cookie-cutter teams ever be considered great rather than just good? Or what Bevan's actually thinking there is adequate.
Oh, well, I did actually answer that, and for the benefit of the people watching the replay, my reply was: can coaches be considered bad, not terrible, if, like you, Bevan, they never made the top tier in 26 seasons?
Well, I mean, we've got a knocked out Dark Elf there. I suppose you're having a pop at not just Bevan there, Andy. I mean, you're having a pop at...
Don't say it. Don't say the D word.
Which D word?
The D word, the one I'm not allowed to say.
Yes. Okay. That's not what I was going to say, but I was going to say that you're tarnishing Bevan with a very wide brush there that covers more than just Bevan. There are an awful lot of our coaches in the UKBBL that never made the top tier in however many seasons they were playing.
Look, in war, there is always collateral damage, and I apologise to the civilians.
You saying, that's another armour break. So this is actually quite a good turn for the High Elves to start the second half. And this is a situation actually where High Elves, if they can get numbers advantage against Dark Elves, they can grind it out a little bit for a 2-1 win. So they are a player up now. It's 10 versus 9. But obviously this is going to come down to whose armour holds better. And actually basing alignment in that situation like he's just done, you don't... Oh, he's blitzing him. That's right. Okay. Sensible lad. I take it back.
Another just slight point of order. He chose to blitz from the edge of the field and not from infield, which has put the elf one square further out. I don't think that's the right play. I think you want, at the moment, he had the right play, which was get everyone in the middle of the field at the start of last turn. And then I would be farming a star player point here.
He may well still do that. I don't think so, though.
Do you happen to know why, just going back to the gutter runner skill, do you have any idea reason why they would want to increase, make a player that already is one of the best players in the game better? It seems an odd choice.
The only reason they've done it is when, and I heard this on the podcast that was released. I think it was Ones and Skulls podcast that you can actually download. Waldorf did put a link to it on the UKBBL website, so you can actually listen to the podcast if you want to. And they're actually interviewing Andy Hoare and his head of rules design for this new box set. And this rule was purely because they noticed after the miniatures were cast that hidden inside the gutter runner model cloak there was a blade being concealed, and they thought, oh, he's got a blade, we need to write a rule to explain that away. And that's why they did it. No other reason. In the same way that the cyanide change for human catchers to AV8 was not allowed because the miniatures had already been designed. And Games Workshop, being a miniature design company, said, but that human catcher doesn't look like he's got armor value 8. We can't have that armor value change, so to kind of temper the community, we will reduce the human catcher value by 10k, which isn't at all as good as AV8. But there you go. So that was the design concept, design process, and that's why we are where we are. There are some really, really good things that sound like they're doing, especially for league play, that sound really, really exciting. And I would heartily recommend, if you get a chance to listen to that podcast. I haven't actually managed to listen to all of it. I've listened to the first 45 to 50 minutes of it. But I would heartily recommend listening to it. It's actually very, very interesting. So there you go. That's why that was done, Andy. You still there?
I am indeed. I was just listening to your explanation. It's very interesting. Slightly worrisome that they would decide to try and rebalance, and that's what they are in essence doing, rebalance a game because of some casting. And I don't mean streaming.
Well, no, I understand that. It's because Games Workshop own the rights to the game, and at the end of the day, here we go, blitz from the Witch Elf. No good. Second bite of the cherry. Put this high off on the touchline. Oh, it's a reroll.
Well, that's why you block with a block player, everyone.
He's got him down. Second bite of the cherry, but that could be a costly reroll later in the half. Costly reroll.
And just for reference, I don't know, I feel like I'm nitpicking here. Now look where the Witch Elf is. The Witch Elf is 2 squares against the sideline and has therefore got to try and retreat and run back into the middle of the field. Where do you want the Witch Elf? You want her stood in the centre square so she can threaten both flanks. Now she's way out of position.
Yeah, so now the high elves really are looking at this side. And this is actually, I mean, you spin this around on its head. We did this in the first half. Looking at this from a high elf point of view is you kind of want to sweep round here. You've got this blitzer, Kurt Cobain. There is 2 blitzers on the right hand side, I suppose. That's the only thing in his advantage. But the Witch Elf's really the one that's going to make a mess of cages, etc., etc. And at the moment, you've got these 2 linemen here. They're actually getting in the way now, these linemen. So that actually strengthens that flank a little bit, which then forces you down back towards the Witch Elf. So it's going to be interesting to see it. EFC Steph, utter stupid, can't help but think that Games Workshop just didn't want anyone messing with their IP. To be fair to Cyanide, EFC Steph, they haven't said whether they're going to be adopting the Games Workshop changes or they're going to plough on with their rule set. Obviously it does lend itself to splitting of the rules. That's how rugby league and rugby union came about. I don't know. I did ask them. I have asked them, obviously, in my position as forum moderator. for Cyanide. It was one of the very first things once I heard about these rule changes. It was one of the very first things that I asked them. Are Cyanide going to be adopting the changes that Games Workshop are putting in there? And actually, this is where it's actually looking quite good for Cyanide, because the community actually think that the change to the human catcher that Cyanide implemented was a good change, and it's one of the things that Cyanide did get right. And actually, they think Games Workshop's rule change is utter bobbins. So, Andy, what's your views on that, actually? Do you prefer the humans with the AV8, or do you think it should have been left alone? And what do you think about Games Workshop's reaction to it?
I think that one of several weak points on the human team were their catchers, and so by strengthening them to armor 8, that was a good thing. You can't make them strength 3, otherwise you have a stat line of 8, 3, 3, 7, and strength 3 with any form of double or anything like that mean they're very mobile blitzers. You can't have that. So you can't change the strength, so you therefore have to change the armor to make them a little bit more durable. So yeah, I liked the armor change, at the risk of making yet more teams armor 8.
Yeah.
But I did like it.
No, absolutely. I think it's one of the real success stories of Cyanide's involvement, and I think it's a bit of a shame that Games Workshop made that decision based on a cast again. But there you go. It's their IP to do with what they will. So we shall see what happens. Nurgle are being released very, very, very soon, and some of the screenshots that have come up, some of the models look absolutely beautiful. They've done sterling work. So another couple of weeks, and we shall be seeing our Nurgle friends arriving, so they can get superbly overpowered before any of the other races turned up. So never mind. Are we expecting a lot of Chaos coaches to re-roll to Nurgle, Andy, with Nurgle coming back next season?
I think you will see some Chaos coaches re-roll, but I suspect actually you will find that more coaches who are playing relatively strong races this season will re-roll to Nurgle, because if you've committed to playing Chaos, you've committed to playing basically a shit team for 11 games. So why re-roll to a different shit team? Because they are shit at the start. Let's not make no bones about it. They are terrible. They are probably the strongest team in the game at high TV, but at low TV they're one of the worst.
Okay. I have to ask the question. You played Chaos for quite some time. Why Chaos over Nurgle?
If I was ranking teams in terms of longevity to play in a perpetual league and ranking them to win leagues over and over and over and over again, the fact that you've got a personalised apothecary on every single player other than rotters that you don't care about means that they are slightly stronger. And you then got to put them against all the other teams that are likely to do well. So Nurgle versus any form of elf. They've all got you've got 4 disturbing presence, which Chaos don't have, which Orcs don't have. You've got the same armor value broadly as those two teams, so you're better against elves than the other 2 bash teams. Against the top level bash teams, Chaos, Orcs, you've got the same level of claw, but you've got cheap cannon fodder players to go and stand against their killers if that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And you've got a regen on everyone. So in a war of attrition, 1 casualty for Chaos, that player's gone probably, because you're not going to use your apothecary on the first casualty unless it's a key player. First casualty against Nurgle, 50-50, it's coming straight back again. So I think they are stronger versus both elves and bash than Chaos, and therefore they are more powerful.
Yeah. That's probably a fair comment. Yeah, Al Bundy, he said that your rotters look just like green zombies, though. Well, with all due respect, they are. They are green zombies without regeneration. They're a human being who has contracted the very hideous, or a human being, a human-sized player who has contracted the very disgusting disease Nurgle rot. So yeah, they are. I don't know. You can develop Chaos and Nurgle as passing teams if you want, because they've got the access to the extra arms, which actually makes them catch on a 2+. So
You criticised my team. I did actually. If you look at the team, my pitch used to have 2 to 3 players with extra arms. The thing I didn't have, and I always wanted to, I just never quite got there, even at 2,500, was a couple of players with 2 heads.
that's true. I don't know why you didn't. You never did that, did you?
No, it's something I probably will look at this time round. Actually, is building a beastman with 2 heads. I don't know quite which way I'll go with it, but being able to regularly dodge around, it's probably a good idea. Well, it's not probably, it is a good idea.
So that was another casualty, by the way. Another Dark Elf lineman off the pitch. So now the Dark Elves are starting to get short man now. So we are likely to see a High Elf grind, which you don't see very often. It's looking really, really good for the High Elves here, the Waitrix.
I really would now start farming out some star player points here on the high elf catcher with the ball. And the way that you do that is you need to put a screen up, and then you need to put the players behind, so you have effectively a double screen. And I would, for 3 turns, throw, catch, throw, catch, throw, catch. That gets that player to 3 star player points, and then both your catches are on 3. And then I would score with either of them and level.
Absolutely, yeah. Or well, surely the players you want to score with are the blitzers, though, aren't they? There's one on 4 star player points. You get the blitzer to throw the passes. He only needs to throw 2 passes.
Oh, you got a lineman on 5.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff you could do here.
The reason, though, that he's got plenty of players on 5 and 4 and 2 and whatever is because we've not been scoring with a right elf in the first game. Namanto, what you need to do is you need to have a loose screen, and then you actually form it in front of a tight cage. So you need to imagine the player that you're throwing to dropping the ball, and it needs to be effectively still inside a cage. So even when the Dark Elf player blitzes you, he can't get to that cage. So you're always thinking about the what if this fails element, and where will the ball land if this fails? Can the Dark Elf player get to the ball?
Especially when, exactly what Andy's just said, actually, especially when the Dark Elves are so short-manned here. There's 3 laying down. He's only got 5. It's not hard to screen off 5 Dark Elves. And of those standing, the real dangerous ones all the way back here, miles away from the ball. No pass this turn, though. Yeah, good evening, Bob. No, not sure what this guy has got. We weren't online to see what injury he picked up. This one's definitely a badly hurt. There was a dead witch elf, so the apothecary has been used. She got badly hurt. She's back on the pitch, but Pretty certain that's what they were anyway. We could just flick back, I suppose. Let's go back to when those injuries occurred. Right.
You should have asked me what my star player point totals are on my players.
We don't care, do we?
I don't know. I don't know if we care.
Go on then.
I care.
You want to
I cared.
I'll let you tell.
A little bit. A little bit. I was quite pleased with mine. I've got 2 Chaos Warriors on 6 and 7 star player points, so there's 1 wasted. And I have 2 Beastmen on 6 and 6, I think. And then I got the MVP this last round. And then everyone else is on 0.
I have got my Troll, bless his little heart, has got 4 star player points. Picked up a cash in both games, which is nice. I've got a Blitzer on 3, which is nice because considering my last game against Al Bundy, I was missing a Blitzer because I lost one to a niggle in the first game. There's no point in keeping him. And then the Throw a Rock took out my other Blitzer on turn 1, and I don't think he woke up till very late in the game. And then I've got 2 linemen on 5 star player points. Haven't managed to pick up any completions yet, which is driving me nuts. The first game was in the rain, so I got lots of pass yardage, but the guy dropped it. And in the second game, I needed a 3+ to get the pass, but it went inaccurate. Fortunately, the ball scattered to the player that I was aiming for anyway, so he caught it and run down. That's how I scored the touchdown. But yeah, so I've picked up a couple of star player points. Luckily, the MVP didn't go to the loner, which is nice. Otherwise, I'd have had a difficult decision. And the Goblin failed to catch it. I do have a Goblin on the team. He failed to catch it in the rain in match day 1, which is upsetting as well.
I suppose better to be lucky than good, I suppose.
Oh, wow. Shots fired. So, I am not without tournament wins, I'll have you know, Mr. Davo. And in fact, one of them I scuppered you. So, but that's only because you couldn't count to 16. That helped.
Yeah, that did help. Yeah, that's true.
We have the team.
Oh well.
We have the team event coming up in January. That's the next team event. Next event, isn't it? You not got any before then?
Yeah, the UKTC I think is the next one for me, up in York. 2 weekends later, depending on which way round they are, I'll be at the Welsh Open in Cardiff. And then we will have the UKBBL tabletop tournament in March, and then the NAF Championships in May.
Yeah. So what's your plans? What are you going to take to the team event?
I'm really not sure. It depends. It's a team event, so actually I'll be asking the team what the team want to play, because my understanding is you can't play 4 of the same race, so you can't tip up with 4 Wood Elf teams. Yeah. The teams that I would like to play, I'm fine with taking Dark Elves. I'd maybe like to take Dark Elves to try and see if I can get to number 1 ranked Dark Elf player, because I'm not too far away from that now.
Okay, what are you on at the moment, out of interest? Do you know what number Dark Elf player you are at the moment?
I want to say 5th, but I'm not quite sure it's as high as that. It might be 8th or 9th. It's top 10 in the world. Definitely top 10.
Well, that's very kind, but I think I'm probably about top 50.
Oh, it's my co-commissioner, Thyrus. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Oh shit, are you live?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nice, he's come on and sworn on the stream. Brilliant.
You've moved channel things. This isn't the old channel down at the bottom. Jeez.
It does clearly state which channel you've come into, that this is the GCB channel, and if you've come in this channel, we're live. But there you go.
It doesn't actually say that, but to be clear.
It does if you drag it wider. But anyway, I
can't work out how to drag it wider.
Yeah. Yeah. The key thing then, Andy, is what did you take to the NAF last season? Because
Amazons, I think.
You see,
Yeah, it was Amazons. I had a little spell with trying out Amazons after I won one of the UKBBL tabletops, and it went dreadfully wrong.
yeah.
So
I mean,
I won't be taking Amazon.
that's what you need to do, because if you take Dark Elves to the NAF, your ranking points at the majors are double. They're worth double.
Yes, yeah, they are. Yeah.
So that's where you need to take them to get your ranking up higher. I said on last week's stream when I had Landian here as a guest, Chance from 3 Die Block took Dwarves, and he's never played Dwarves in his life. He took Chance from 3 Dice Block. He took Dwarves to the Chaos Cup in Chicago a couple of weekends ago, and he actually finished second. And finishing second with the first time you've ever taken Dwarves was good enough to get him to the world rank number 4 Dwarf coach. So that's where
It's impressive.
It's not bad, is it? He didn't concede a touchdown all weekend with Dwarves, and finished with a record of 4-2-0 and lost it on countback to a guy from Scandinavia from Sweden. And I think he was playing Norse, and the name completely escapes me. Wasn't you, Robbo, though? Robbo, you're on a downer in everything you do at the moment. Robbo is sculled in the UKBBL. He's doing terribly in the NFL Fantasy League. He's not doing great in his Blood Bowl at the moment. So there you go. Just a shout out to Skulls for being truly incompetent at the moment. So
He's just named the guy he lost to. His name is Ozd, and he is a truly exceptional coach.
yeah, I can't remember what his real name is though. It begins with a J. Jonas, that's what it is. That's his real name.
Robbo, you're in the stream. Would you say that he's one of the greatest coaches in the world?
The stream will be finishing soon, Al Bundy, at the end of this game. This will be the end of the stream. So once we've seen the game, nice fellow. There you go. Yeah. We usually do 1.5 games or so on Monday Night Football. It depends what's going live, but we just pick anything up. Unless, of course, if people don't want to be streamed, they need to drop me a line, and then there is a list of people compiled that don't want to be streamed. So you just need to let us know that. Otherwise, who won the... yeah, he did win the Chaos Cup twice in a row. Yeah, he won this year and last year. He retained his title. So absolutely.
Only person ever to have done that, I believe.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic, and I don't mean to big up the Europeans, but the feeling is that the European coaches are certainly higher in the rankings than the American coaches. So, yeah. But Robbo, just because you're from Sweden and the Chaos Cup champion is from Sweden, it's like saying, you know, the Queen's English and so am I, so I'm royalty. Really, it doesn't really count. Sorry, Robbo.
Yeah, but in his defence, Robbo's good friends with him. That'd be like saying the Queen's English and I'm good friends with her, so I'm royalty. Yeah. He's got that going for him.
Okay. So
I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying he's friends with the Queen. Okay. You've got to respect that. Going back to the game, what would you do if you were the Dark Elf coach here? Because it's looking a little bit lost, isn't it? Really.
Well,
so you've got to mix it up.
I'd be careful here. You don't want to score too soon if you're the High Elf coach here. You're in a dominant position. You don't want to give the ball away. And there's another re-roll gone.
Oh dear.
There's twice now that we've seen that Witch Elf blitz, and really the frenzy's not getting you a surf here, so why blitz with that Witch Elf in that situation? The person to blitz with is that blitzer that's standing right next to him. I mean, he's used 2 rerolls this half, both on failed Witch Elf blitzes. And the other turn, we're on to turn 12, so we've had 4 turns this turn, this half. We've seen a skull both down on each turn. The turn that he didn't do it with the Witch Elf, he was using the blocker, and down that piece went. It was great. So, there's a lesson to be learnt there for everyone. But he is short of numbers, isn't he, this Dark Elf?
Yeah.
It's 8 versus, what is it for? 8 versus 10, so it's problematic.
I think here the Dark Elf coach really sort of needs to mix it up a little bit, because if you play this through in your mind, what's going to happen? Well, if you let the High Elf coach control it, he's got, I think it's a 2-player advantage, and he should, unless he makes a mistake, be fine here. So you may as well start trying to base up some players and make the High Elf coach roll some dodges, because the only way you're going to get you need to create a turnover. If you do nothing, you're going to lose. If you don't do nothing, you might lose, but you're going to lose anyway.
I suppose the danger of this, when you're outnumbered, if you start basing people, are you not opening yourself up for a turn of being smashed around?
Selectively basing. Maybe I should have quantified that a little bit. So, if it's the start of the High Elf turn here, he's got his throw is based up, but on a diagonal. And he's got a downed lineman based up but on a diagonal, and he's got a blitzer basing up against a blitzer. Yeah, that's fine. In all instances, the High Elf coach needs to commit additional resource to throw the blocks. Okay, they're not going anywhere, or they've got to dodge away. What you should be trying to generate things where you're making the High Elf coach want to dodge as opposed to stand and fight, and that's where they will eat their team rerolls, and you might cause a turnover and might be able to do something.
Yeah.
Full-on cage swarming is not the right play, I don't think.
No, agreed. I mean, HUD is very much in the ascendancy here, so Farron's got to do something a little bit more kind of... I'm going to switch around to the Dark Elf point of view. I mean, it's a fairly solid defence that he's got at the moment. I mean, the High Elves could score this turn if they want to. They probably don't want to yet. They don't want to give the Dark Elves 4 turns to score. Here comes a blitz, and I actually don't like that blitz particularly. I think the piece to blitz free is the thrower, because he's your most precious piece. He's one of your positionals. Why free up alignment? I suppose the only thing is, if you come around, you can actually punch with the thrower, I suppose.
That lineman number 10. That's not even me trying to be funny. It actually says 1. You need to bring that forward and stand him in the middle of the half, so you can just give him the ball. He becomes a threat.
Which one? The High Elf one?
Yeah, number 10. He's on 3-star player points. He's on the far right as the High Elves look at it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've got you. Yeah. Lou Bodlia.
Yeah.
And what you're saying you should do with him?
Stand him just in the middle of the half. Make him an actual genuine scoring threat.
Oh, I see. Not where he's just gone. But...
Yeah, exactly not where he's just gone.
Yeah.
And do not throw the block with the thrower now, because 1 in 9 failure. Oh, ball's gone. You need to make the ball safe.
Okay, he's moved the ball back a little bit. Yeah. So he's done that. Now he can block.
Yeah, now he can block.
So that was actually some good play. So that's nice. And the final thing, I guess...
8 out of 10 play, yeah.
Yeah. The final thing to do is to dodge that lineman away. And leave him in scoring position. Why not?
there's an argument for leaving him where he is, just leaving him lying down. Don't roll the dice, because you don't need him standing up. You're forcing the Dark Elf player to stand a player probably directly in front of him, otherwise he can stand up for free. So, and if he fails the dodge, you're in a worse off. You've given your opponent a free armor break. Keep the advantage of players that you've got. Don't offer your opponent as any opportunities to get the players back.
Oh, there you go. There it goes. Is he going to use the reroll? I don't think he will.
Let's see what happens.
I don't think he will. At the Weight Tricks, are you from Sweden as well, the Weight Tricks? Just out of interest. I see you're having a conversation there in the stream with Robbo. I'll wait for that response. See what the stream is. So we've got 3 turns to go. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, by the way, Andy. Much appreciated. Andy will be back later in the season. Joining me later in the season as we get to kind of match day 8 or 9, and we really have an idea of the coaches that are in with a shout at the end. Hear a Swede named Jonas. Oh, nice.
I think he's joking.
He's the Chaos King. Yeah, I suspect so. But if anybody else wants to join me on my stream on a Monday night, it's 8:30 every week throughout the season, and then during the playoffs we just see what happens. But Monday night is the night that I stream. Thursday night, Lupak will be back with his Blood Bowl show. UKBBL covering what's happening around the league. And then there are various matches throughout the week. You've got Jabaspi's stream. He streams a lot of his games. James Overlord streams as well, as does Jimmy Fantastic. So, and the Sage. There are plenty of UKBBL games being streamed all week. But if you want to join me on the Monday night show, where we have a little bit of a chinwag, we talk about various races, we see what's available in the league, and we talk about things that have happened in the Blood Bowl community over the past 7 days. So that's what we do in my stream. Next week, I believe, I'm going to check now, I think next week I have been joined by one of our colleagues from Vienna. I have a feeling it's Bevan next week, but I'm just going to check. I could be completely wrong. Oh, we've got another armor break, and we've got an injured High Elf Blitzer. Wowza. That's big. It's a badly hurt, so it's not the end of the world, but that turns the numbers slightly around the other way. Oh no, next week, I'd tell a lie, next week we'd been joined by Ekoa, who is a Norse coach, has been around the UKBBL for quite some time. So yeah, fantastic. Nice to have Ekoa on the stream next week. So looking forward to spending the evening with him, talking about his Blood Bowl history. Should be good. Delete. And then on 28th, I've got Charlie Banks joining me, and that's actually not until the start of December when Bevan's here. At the moment, the schedule has the 12th of December free, 9th of January, and the 23rd. So, Andy, you're back with me on the 16th of January, which is actually going to be match day 10, and it'll be interesting to see who's still in with a chance towards the end of the season. So. That one.
Yeah, by turn 10, turn 10. By game 10, we'll probably know who's fully in with a shout of the playoffs.
Yeah, well, it'll certainly be down to a dozen or so coaches, I would imagine, by then. And it'll be getting the calculators out and doing some hasty mathematics to see who it is. Right, that injured Blitzer makes things slightly trickier for the High Elves now. And this is where the best high elf coaches really prove their mettle. It's, can they hold their bottle? Can they squeak out an extra turn of stalling, or do they just score before it gets too risky? I think Farron's defended this quite well, to be honest. He hasn't overcommitted. He as Andy pointed out last turn, he based up where there were players down. He forced dodges to be used, so HUD's down to 2 rerolls.
Yep. I like this positioning, almost. I just think the Witch Elf is in the wrong place. She needs to be kept central. And so every time he was blitzing with her, she then gets pulled one side or the other, which had the dual effect of, one, burning through rerolls, which he hasn't really got, and 2, pulling her out of position. If that Witch Elf was where number 10 lineman was, which is the guy stood on his own in the middle of the field,
Yeah.
or better yet, number 1 blitzer. Yeah, or better yet, where number 1 blitzer is, and yes, he's actually number 1.
Yeah.
I would be quite pleased.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You have, he's got 3 blitzers on his team and a Witch Elf, so he's got his 3 most valuable pieces on defense in a 4x4 square. They should be spread out a little bit more. You kind of need, certainly, the blitzer to the left of the Witch Elf, directly in front, so that's number 2. Perhaps should be where number 10 is, and that should be a lineman there, because actually you could screen off those very valuable positionals here, leaving Farron having to do stuff with no block with his lineman. So he's clustered these positionals far too much.
Yep. That was a slight misplay from the high elves here, because again, had he rolled double wave down into double wave down, the ball carrier was available for a free 2 dice whack. The ball is not safe currently.
Yeah.
And low TV 101 is you make sure the ball is safe.
People, defense is where you win games, and no offence to my colleague that I played earlier this week, Mr. Bundy, because he did win the game, but I did manage to get the ball off you on both your drives, and a scatter here or there in my favour would have been very nice, and that was because you left me a 3+ dodge, which I will take all day long to get a 1 dice block. I will take those, won't I, Andy?
You will. You will, yeah.
And Andy knows that I'm going to take him, and he still forgets that.
Yeah, it's whether I can talk you into taking a 4+ dodge. And the answer is yes. Now,
that's true.
If this was,
but then I'll roll the 4, and then you'll get upset.
Well, yeah. If this was high TV, elf, the correct play is actually to surf the guy, as the high elves look at it, on the far right-hand side. But because it's not, it isn't, if it makes sense. Because the guy who's stood directly behind the ball, the thrower, number 1, could go and blitz his number 7 next to his catcher, and then the catcher can surf you off.
Oh, that's a double skull. That was a double skull. So down to 1 reroll a turn, 1 reroll each.
Yeah.
Al, it wasn't. Both times that I managed to get the ball off you, it was a 3+ dodge. Honestly, it was a diagonal through a gap. You might have thought it was a 5+, but it wasn't. It was a 3+.
No, 4s. Should have been 4s. Has the high elf coach made an error here? Look, he's left a cage corner
He has, hasn't
that's
he?
marked.
He
So
has.
that,
Yeah.
and he's, yeah. This is the
His
shot.
chance.
This is where you commit.
Yeah.
So by basing things up, as we were talking about a few turns ago, you have now created the opportunity to try and get a 2 dice block on the ball. Because if the first block does knock down that lineman on the cage corner, you follow up and there's your assist. If it doesn't, then you've got a 1 dice block, probably with a blitzer, and you can do it that way. So this is, I think the Dark Elves here, very good shot.
And he's got, this is, funny enough, everything I said about the blitzers and all the positionals being in that position last turn, it's irrelevant now because of what HUD's just done. And now there's your 2 dice block with one of these nice juicy pieces.
Only if he pushes the player backwards. If he places it sideways and follows up, this is. He's got to be careful about where he pushes this player.
And he's got an armor break as well to boot.
Yep.
He needs some luck with the scatters. That's the only thing I'd say.
Yeah, he does. There is a slight argument here, and I'm not sure, and I think I'd take it. I think I'd take the blitzer for using Witch Elf, just because you get 4 dice on the thrower. And
Fair.
actually, I think I'd be wanting to use a blitzer myself, but just saying.
I think I'd use the blitzer here. Al Bundy, no, I'm too. No, I really enjoyed our game. It was a pleasure to play a new coach in the UKBBL. I want another shot at you. I'm not going to lie. I want another shot. But because of the way I play and because of the way I like to develop my Orc team, they're never very competitive at TV 1000. Throw in the ball. Sorry, go on.
How many Black Orcs you got?
2.
Oh dear.
So I'm 1 off optimal. I haven't even got 4 blitzers yet, Andy. So
Oh, that's just poor.
I do have my apothecary. Oh! Reroll here? Do you reroll here?
No, you absolutely do not.
Oh no! Oh, the high elves are lucked out there.
Oh dear. I think. Oh dear. Doesn't matter what you do with the last player. There's ways around this. Oh dear. Poor Farron. That was unlucky. Because if he had to go and stand around the back of that player, and stand. You got the Witch Elf, a downed player, and then you need to stand behind that. Otherwise, the High Elves dodge through that square, out the other side, and hand it off to the lineman and score.
Absolutely.
Straight 2+.
The high elves lucked out there. HUD lucked out.
Yep.
What's the play here? I suppose he's got to dodge out. It's the 2+ dodge out, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
2+, 2+, 2+. 3, 6. What is the play here?
Yeah, it's 2-2-2.
That's made things
Awesome.
easier as well. Has he just...
Really? No. That was just a waste of a dice roll.
I think what he's going to do is he's going to hit the Dark Elf lineman number 10 with his blitzer number 2 to knock him back and hope for the knockdown. Then get Adam Yorch hit by... Yeah, here we go. Like what I've just said. Thanks, HUD. You're making me look good again. Now he's got a 2 dice block here. Now it's a 2 dice block, and he can then blitz this blitzer, Kurt Cobain, off of the catcher, and then it's a 2+, 2+ touchdown. Good lad, HUD.
It's 2+, but with more block dice.
Yeah, blocking safer than 2+ rolls though. All day long. Blitz now. Number 1. Number. I've done it now. Number 9.
It is, but if any of these fail, in your solution, you are rolling the critical dice at the end of your dice string. In my solution, you're rolling them at the start of the dice string, and therefore I have guaranteed myself the inbuilt reroll.
True, there is that. Absolutely.
Because if any of these are double both down, you're in trouble.
But they weren't. So now he's got a 2+ with
No.
a team reroll and a 2+ catch with a reroll because the player's got catch. Oh, is he going to stall out for this last turn? I think he... That's ballsy. I'm not sure I would. I think I'd score it now.
You can't stall. You can't put yourself in a safe place.
It's just the way where he's positioned that lineman. Just kind of... This is where you roll the double... The double one. The Dark Elves then come in, scoop it. Oh, there we go! There we go! This is horrific. Oh, he's got away. Now it's a double one on the catch. You've got to hand it off. Surely.
You've got to hand it off now, yeah.
And he's got it. And he's going to run it in now. Oh. I don't know if I've got time in the week, Al Bundy, to fit you in as a friendly, because this is one of the things that I do like about Blood Bowl 2. You can take your team and actually play friendly games with them in the week. So I'll be looking for a high elf team to have a friendly with in practice for my next match day week next week. Mind you, you are Dark Elves, they're not a million miles away. Oh, he didn't wake up. So the Dark Elves are still a man down. 8 versus 9. With 2 turns to score for the Dark Elves. Handoff is for a cowards. Nice. Are you playing High Elves, Waitrix? Certainly. As long as you're on Discord, then I might take you up on that kind offer. You're not in my division, are you?
Sorry, how do you play friendlies?
So you go into... you can choose friendly rather than league play, and then you can choose any team in your database. So you could take your league team against my league team, we could have a game, and none of the injuries will stand, and they don't gain star player points. But it's quite good to practice with your team. Which is nice.
Oh.
We might even see down the line some kind of cup competition that... Because the problem with us running cup competitions in the past is actually teams would skill up, but in Blood Bowl 2 you can do it on a friendly scale and actually do some kind of cup competition that's a resurrection format. So.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't it?
Well, it's nice that something is finally better about in Blood Bowl 2 than it is in Blood Bowl 1. I'm pleased. We've got that in the disconnects. And then we traded it off for player models that don't level and crappy skills. So, yeah, I suppose you pay your money to take your chances, really.
Oh dear. Well, I have absolute faith that the skills will be resolved. I will be stunned if they ever sort out the leveling up of the models, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And you've got a prettier game as well. So there you go.
Prettier.
It is definitely prettier.
Yeah.
Like Bob says, you love it, Andy. Come on. I want you to say, well done, Cyanide. At least 2 things tonight they've actually got right. We've already discussed the human catchers, and now you're liking the friendly match option that you can have.
They do say, though, if you had 100 monkeys in a room with 100 typewriters, eventually we would get the works of Shakespeare. That's sort of the same here, really, isn't it? Eventually, if you make enough video games, they did say that. They did say that.
A broken clock.
You big oaf.
The better way to have gone would have been a broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah, that's the way you should have gone. But never mind.
Well. Yeah. No, I'm really pleased about Blood Bowl 2. It makes me really pleased inside. I was not paid to say this at all.
I agree, Al Bundy. Yes, I could find someone, but it's so much more fun playing with friends from the UKBBL. EFC Steph, not prettier on my lappy. It looks like a bad watercolour. The black blob moves here. The red blob moves there. Do you know, I'm not even running Blood Bowl 2 on maximum settings here. I think this is just on normal. So. Right, so this is it. 2 turns for the Dark Elves to score. I don't like seeing a thrower covering a catcher. This thrower here on the left hand flank, as you look at it on the screen, the Dark Elves left, that is. Ooh.
That's good for the Dark Elves.
This thrower here should be this lineman. So this lineman over on the right hand side, as the Dark Elves look at it, should be in front of the catcher, and you should never have positionals standing up front. That's just asking for trouble. Equally here, as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't have a catcher in front of a blitzer. Utilise your armour. Right, which elf in scoring position though? This could very well end up 2-2.
It's not. It's that elf.
Which elf would you score with here, Andy?
The witch elf, for sure.
Yeah, because she's got the 4-star player points, hasn't she? He's got 2 skill ups here though. Farron, he's got this lineman skilling up from today's game, and Kurt Cobain, the blitzer's also skilling up. Oh, and there you see, there's another. There was a 1-die block there. What was that one? Oh no, it wasn't. He chose that. It wasn't a 1-die block. Ignore what I'm saying. This the High Elves. HUD's got this catcher skilling up. Anyone else skilling up for the High Elves today? No. So he does have 2 rerolls here, Farron does. I'd like to see some more players get into scoring range though.
I'm a little concerned that he used a blitzer as one of the 2 pieces back. I'm not sure that was the right play.
Well, now he's. I mean, these linemen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The lineman that he's moving into scoring position now will need go for it to score, because he's blocked with his 2 blitzers here. But what he has done is he's protected that witch elf very, very nicely. So the play here, I guess, is to get those catches into interception positions, because it's obvious that he's going for that witch elf. Could leave.
Yep.
Because High Elves intercept on a 5+ with a reroll. Catches can be used on interceptions, let's not forget. So it's 1 in 3. It's 2 out of 3 times.
Robbo put in the chat, have I got any comment on the defensive formation from the High Elves? Yes, I have. It's difficult to do anything really meaningful with only 6 players not on the line of scrimmage. So it would be difficult to not form to not make the Dark Elves have to blitz. So I think what he's done is wrong, in as much as he just let the Dark Elves run past him. So you either string them out in a nice line, so you make him have to commit at least one player to provide the assist for the blitz, so you're effectively taking a player off the Dark Elves, or you stand them in.
He's going for the pass now.
Yeah, that's strange.
It worked.
Ballsy.
Alright, so the play here.
That was a 4+, wasn't it? It was indeed a 4+.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This blitzer can get there, as can this catcher.
Yeah, I think the correct play was to have all 6 players stood inside the middle of the pitch.
Both these players in the middle can get, they need some go for it, so they've got to do a dodge here, a 2+ dodge, and a 2+ GFI to get this catcher here. And then this blitzer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 go for it to get 2 dice block on the Witch Elf. She does have dodge, of course.
You've got to make the catcher's got to stand directly in front of the Witch Elf as you look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you want to block and push the Witch up if you don't knock her down.
Yeah. Here's the blitz, 2+, 2+ for the GFI. He's got her. Down she goes. Yeah, that's where I'd have gone.
And you follow up. You absolutely follow up.
Oh, the blitzer doesn't want to catch that. He bloody has. Oh no! What the, oh, it's bounced back to him. Oh!
Oh!
And now it's the Dark Elves' turn to get lucky. That's brilliant. Okay, so now, oh wow, now the High Elves. Oh dear, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. These 2 guys over here on the left-hand flank need to get. They need to do go for it to get in these squares. No, that's not right.
That first move's fine. I'm not sure about the second move. Number 8 lineman.
He's going to have to.
Because it's all about men behind the ball, not in front of it.
He's going to.
So you're going to have to do some dodges through tackle zones to get the other side of the ball.
He's got to do a 3+, 3+, 2+ to get this catcher through here. That's what's needed. 3+, 3+, 2+.
Yep. The trouble is you can only afford to commit one of these 2 players, otherwise number 7 lineman, who has already levelled unfortunately, so it is the wrong player, can just run off and score.
Yeah.
Because the player number 8 lineman is stood.
Got to reroll that. And down he goes, and that's a 2+ to get the draw.
Yeah.
1 in 36. Oh, he's got to do a 2+ and he's got 2 2+s here. 2 2+s, 1 for the dodge, 1 for the GFI to get the tie. That's probably a fair result. Both teams got lucky on their blitzes with where the ball's scattered to. Here he comes. Let's have a look.
Do you know what? I don't like that solution. Not because it's not the right solution, but because it means the Witch Elf doesn't score.
The Witch Elf could still score.
Yeah, you've got to take one of the 2 blitzers on the line of scrimmage, blocks the lineman out of the way, and the other one then comes and stands behind number 13. Then the player That is, of course, if you do the block in the right order.
Wrong player blocked there, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think this is quite brave, considering he's got 2/2+ to roll. He's rolling blocks here. I'm not one for this, to be honest. Unless you're going to commit to trying to score with that dark elf, with that witch elf, then don't roll the dice at all. Just you don't want to risk a double skull at this stage of a game with 2/2+ to go. You're asking Nuffle. Yeah, it is greed. It is greed. There's the first one, and there's the tie. 2-2, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah. Would you be aggrieved as you were the Dark Elf coach, or would you be aggrieved as the High Elf coach, or would you consider that a fair
I
result?
think that's probably a fair result. In the when the Dark Elves, the High Elves made the mistake to allow that corner to be blitzed off. Fortunately for them, the ball scattered to an awaiting High Elf, and then Nuffle returned the favour when the Dark Elf player got blitzed and the ball scattered favourably. And he's got an MVP on his blitzer there. So that concludes this evening's programme. Thank you very much, Andy, for joining me. I'll see you later in the season, and good luck for the rest of the season. Same time next week, everyone.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
And we'll run the music.